Welcome to the Workplace Ninja Netherlands podcast, a series on Microsoft's modern workplace management.
So, welcome again at a new recording of the Workplace Ninja podcast. Today we are extending our workplace management series, and we'll be talking about
Windows 365.
What's that?
That's a good question. It's a virtual device living in the Microsoft data centers.
So, a Windows 11 device, Windows 10, Windows 11?
Both.
You can choose that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can create a custom image. You can ask for an image of Microsoft itself, with or without Office. Lots of capabilities, lots of nice things in it, and they're putting in a lot of effort in it.
Yeah, one of the Dutch guys in the US is quite helping a lot on that. Christian Brinkhoff.
Yeah, one of the driving forces behind the technology. So that's something that we can be proud of.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But we are talking workplace management. Windows 365 is a VDI in the cloud delivered by Microsoft.
Yeah, it's personally based, so
Yeah.
you actually assign it to a user. And due to that, you can actually manage it the same as you would manage your laptop or any other device, which is user-bound.
Yeah. So the configuration part of Windows 365. First, I need to get a license, and if I have that license assigned to a certain user, what do I need to do to get a virtual machine or a Windows 365 machine, so I'm able to log in and have a certain options that we will discuss after.
About the license, maybe we have to stand still there. You have business license, you have enterprise license, and you have Azure Virtual Desktop. So let's make a start on that. From when do you use Azure Virtual Desktop, when do you use the business, when do you use the enterprise, and what taste do you have between all those variants?
Yeah.
Let's give a start. And that's where I am already lost.
Okay. Maybe it's good to start with Azure Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, the difference between Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, but in Azure Virtual Desktop, you've got two possibilities. Free. You've got a personal, you got a shared, and you got published apps. And when using in a shared environment, it's always good to use AVD, so Azure Virtual Desktop. When going to a personal device, then there is a possibility to go to Windows 365 or Azure Virtual Desktop. Within Azure Virtual Desktop, it's possible to use very different sizing, very large sizing as well, lots of memory, GPUs, and that kind of stuff. But then comes Windows 365, and with the last announcements on Ignite, we've got GPU as well. We've got large memory. We've got large CPU. So if I need to say when to use Windows 365 and when to use AVD, if you're using a shared environment, so published apps, then you have to go to Azure Virtual Desktop. And for a personal device, go to Windows 365.
Yeah, but also from a cost perspective and a management perspective, Windows 365 is completely managed by Microsoft. And AVD, you need to only the infra is managed, so the gateway and the broker, that's managed by Microsoft.
True.
But all your session hosts are managed by yourself. And also, when looking at costs, if I run a GPU-intensive VM, there can be a lot of costs in your own environment. And the difference with a license from Windows 365. You buy a license. It's a monthly bill that you have to pay, but for that bill, you get 24 hours every time access to your Windows 365 machine.
Yeah, the device is always on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there's a fixed price based on a user.
Yeah.
And
about AVD, Windows 365, depending on your requirements, you can use both products. There's no wrong or right here. I think having options there is the best way to go forward. In my opinion, using AVD in order to, for example, make applications in your old environment available, using app publishing, etc. That's where AVD is perfectly capable of. Windows 365 is, for example, better suited to solve the bring your own device solution, where you don't want people to run applications on their non-managed device, and you just provide them with the Windows 365 managed device, which is secure and meets your security standards. And then it really doesn't matter what kind of device the end users are using in order to connect to that. So you can even do Windows 365 on your iPad if you want to.
And about complexity, Azure Virtual Desktop versus Windows 365, also not engineering time. What is, for my opinion, Windows 365 is much easier than AVD, but is that true?
Yeah, definitely, but it depends. The steps to install AVD are more complex, more you have to do more technical stuff to get the AVD up and running. Windows 365, it's about 2 or 3 policies to create, and then it's up and running. The difference and the dependency comes with if you're going to use a custom image. A custom image can be used in AVD and in Windows 365. Then you have to create a custom image, and that's more technical.
Why do you want a custom image versus the Microsoft managed image? Because Windows is Windows, but
probably when you we don't use it, but probably when you need several different applications already running on the device.
AutoCAD, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not a too big application, you can use the standard image and deploy your software with Intune. I think Windows 365 is less complex than an AVD environment. There are a few things when running a normal image, and I think most cases the normal image from the gallery will work. And also in that part, it's easier, but also if you have a customer with 10 seats and it has one of them needs a Windows 365 machine, then it's easy to enable Windows 365, enable one license. And in that cases, in the early days, and you want to use a single VDI based on Citrix, AVD, or whatever, then you needed to do a lot of work to enable only one VDI machine for a specific user in a specific use case.
Indeed, yeah. And the fact that you can use custom images in both solutions only makes the options that you have far more.
Yep.
But you don't have to use it, but you could use it if you want to. And again, building those images is of course another cup of tea, but on the other hand, building images is something that we have been doing for the last 20 years. So we know a lot about how to create images and do stuff on that part. So if you're experienced with that, the building of an image concept like we were doing with SCCM, etc., doesn't change that much when you are actually talking about making images for AVD or Windows 365.
No. How about the enterprise and the business license? This is also a little bit fuzzy for me. What are in 2 or 3 sentences the difference between the business variant versus the enterprise variant?
The business variant is the one who's only able to start running and not customize it with any policies, so not manageable. And with the enterprise, is going to be manageable with Intune.
Okay.
Yeah, and also difference between AVD and Windows 365. Talking about management, AVD and Intune is a little bit hard. You can do it, but it's harder to realize the integration with Windows 365. The integration is out of the box there. If you look on the devices, you have there a Windows 365 tab, and you can do all the steps regarding a provisioning policy, custom image, and networking stuff. And then you have to assign a license, and then the machine is created.
Indeed, so especially with the Enterprise Edition, actually the enrollment is quite similar to what we are doing with Autopilot. So during the enrollment, you make the device user-specific with all the policies. There are, of course, some differences, but I think that 80% of all the policies that you have will actually work on Windows 365 as well.
Yeah. And about Windows 365 on premises, is there some news on? So we also know the Azure Cloud, but you also Azure Tech ACI from Ignite or that kind of stuff, or you said go away from that, don't use it. What's your opinion?
I haven't heard any.
It's on Azure Tech ACI supported.
It's still, nice.
Windows 365 as well, or only AVD?
I thought Windows 365. I heard Windows 365.
There's some rumors. I don't know. Yeah. What you can do, you have the opportunity to create some Azure networking within Windows 365, and with that, you can create a VPN tunnel or express route or whatever to your on-prem environment. So you have also with Windows 365, you have the opportunity to connect to your on-prem resources.
With the client installer,
could be, with the client, but also side to side from Azure to your on-prem data center. You have the opportunity to connect to your on-prem resources that way.
Okay.
But
and that is actually a good point. The use case can be quite diverse. I already mentioned providing bring your own device users with a managed work environment, but also making those legacy applications, mainly client-server applications which require connection to backend, make them available on machines like that. That can either be AVD or Windows 365, mainly also for the reason because it will actually save you from implementing VPN solutions on your client devices. But also it's much more easier, especially when we are talking about shared AVD, to keep those legacy applications updated as well. So if you have like a shared device and you install the application once, but 20 users are using it, you only have to update one application in order to have it updated for the 20 users, instead of all those distributed systems which are anywhere, making use of the VPN connection and where you actually need to update the package using Intune at that point in time. So it also gives you better control. And especially when it comes to legacy applications, and again, maybe I shouldn't call them legacy, but the traditional client-server applications, isolating them in a controlled environment, in my opinion, is a better idea than making them available on all your endpoints. Yeah. But again, that's my opinion. I think in the longer run, that will work better from a manageability perspective.
Yeah, in the last few weeks, I have enabled my own Windows 365 license. Thanks to Christian for that. What I have an issue when accessing my corporate resources because my cloud PC wasn't compliant. Are there talking about conditional access? Are there some specific things where I need to be involved up front?
This is the 80/20 a good example of that. But for example, BitLocker is not enabled on the Windows 365 machine. So if you have a compliance policy checking for BitLocker, it will actually report as non-compliant. And that's the reason for that is because the storage is actually encrypted in the platform itself. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about that, but that means that a compliance policy like that will not work, or a report as non-compliant. And therefore, we have like the filtering capability to make that policy not available to cloud PCs. That's what we are doing.
Yeah, that was the thing that happens in my environment at that moment. So I need to create a filter based on cloud PCs, make a second compliance policy specific to my cloud PCs, and disable or not configure the BitLocker requirement.
Indeed, yeah.
So that was. There are a few things to keep in mind regarding working with Windows 365, but in general, I think it's a huge benefit to a specific use cases. I'm a contractor with a larger organization. They have enabled a Windows 365 machine for me, so I didn't receive a laptop or something else. But in that case, that works quite well, and I can access all corporate resources, and all the corporate resources are secured that no unmanaged device can access their data.
No, also in the community, we see a lot of consultants consulting for many different companies. And I'm still amazed by the fact that those people still get a laptop from the company in order to do their work.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary anymore. And that's something you can easily solve by, for example, making an AVD or Windows 365 machine available for those consultants. I also see more companies considering Windows 365 for their hardened PC to do the management of the Microsoft 365 environment or Azure management. So, I think we have some good use cases there. Provide that to administrators, further harden that device, and make sure by using conditional access that only those machines can actually manage the environment.
Yeah, that's a next step regarding privileged access workstation. We had a talk with Michael van Horenbeck at the Ninja Summit about this topic.
Indeed,
and using AVD as a stepping stone to your Windows 365 is a nice first step, but you definitely need, in order to secure your environment in a good and optimal way, you need definitely a privileged access workstation. But Windows 365, in my opinion, still can be used in certain scenarios.
Yeah, and again, it's not a matter of implementing the fully compliant solution directly, but
Holy Grail. Yeah.
It can be a next step to further improve your security, and that's the point we're trying to make. That's what we are seeing in security nowadays. You cannot implement it meeting all the requirements directly. So please make sure that if you have an opportunity to improve security, please do so. And in that light, I think that using Windows 365 as your privileged access workstation is way better than allowing anyone on an unmanaged device to log in with global admin rights on any tenant managed by your cloud service provider, for example.
Yeah, regarding that, with another podcast that I'm hosting, Security Brothers, we talked the last time in Dutch, we talked about the Microsoft Digital Defense Report. Yeah. A few highlights in that report are still the basics.
Indeed.
Update management, having MFA. So every small step, what you mentioned, every small step you can take as an organization will definitely help to secure your environment more and more.
To be honest, when I'm doing security work, I'm actually implementing basic hygiene. That's what we are doing. And because if you don't have the basic hygiene in order, you cannot implement the advanced security scenarios. So it's all a matter of cleaning up, implementing the basics, keeping it simple, making it not too complex, stuff like that. I think Erik does the same for his customers. Just apply the basics and do it in such a way that you can use it as a platform in order to implement security solutions on top of it.
But let's get back to the Windows 365. Mm-hmm. It's also a productivity tool, and and there are some productivity pluses instead of using on-premises remote desktop services, which was I hosting a lot for all those customers. But due to COVID, we get Teams. And Teams and video and all that kind of things are not running that well on a remote desktop session host. The promise is that it will be very good on a Windows 365 machine. How can you tell about it, Joost? Teams on there are some enhancements on that for the productivity. So instead of a secure solution, it's also a productive solution, and especially when you look at the user, which is using Teams all the day.
Yeah, it's not just a promise, because I can tell it's working.
It's a guarantee.
Yeah, no, it's not a guarantee because it still needs a good internet.
Okay. What's different with a normal on-premises session host? Can you elaborate on that?
The media redirection works out of the box. So when you're using Microsoft Teams on a Windows 365 device, it already redirects all your media to your local devices as well. You can use your camera, and when you're using Teams in Windows 365, it's going to be not showing every picture or video of everyone, but several, not the full suite. So they're making it smaller. So not all the capabilities are in there, but it's working great without that kind of lag that you don't see it. Great audio as well. So that's a big plus against the remote desktops.
Yeah, what I was doing last week, I had a Teams conversation with a customer, and within that meeting, I switched over to Teams in my Windows 365 environment. So I was taking over the call, and afterwards I asked a few participants, what did you noticed about switching? They doesn't know. Only the camera was flickering when switching. That was the only thing that they saw what I was doing.
Yeah, and we shouldn't forget that Microsoft had to do this right, because if they failed on this part, then I think the popularity of the solution would be far less.
You're not productive because the main complaint, if I look at my customers, they have a laptop and they have the remote desktop services, and they want to use one desktop. But Teams in a remote desktop server, we all know it's not working like a charm, so they have to use two desktops.
True.
Indeed. Yeah.
And now you can integrate it to one desktop again,
Yep.
and that's a great solution.
Yeah.
There's also another productivity. You also showed it to France. You implemented it on France laptop yet.
Yeah. That's there are some new features, and there's a new license we have to do as well, and that's the frontline worker.
The frontline worker.
Yeah. But first, there's the opportunity we have is now Windows 365 switch, and we've got Windows 365 boot. And those are new capabilities with the new Windows version. With Windows 365 switch, you can create a new desktop and switch between those two desktops. And you can connect to a different tenant as well. So if you are a consultant we are all,
like France.
yeah,
Like
and you're working for another customer, you can switch easily to the desktop of the customer and do your thing and switch back. And you can swipe it with 4 fingers, or you can click it with the taskbar on the next to the start menu.
The Windows flag tab, and then you have the overview of your task pane.
Yeah,
And you see the desktop. Normally, in normal Windows, you see only your own desktops. You can create multiple desktops, but if you enabled the task view within the app of Windows 365, then you have the opportunity to add the Windows 365 desktops to it, and then you can easily swipe, and that was what we enabled 10 minutes ago. No, what is it? 24 minutes ago on my
and it works vice versa. So within Windows 365, when you do the desktop switching, you actually see your local desktop again.
yeah.
So therefore, it makes it actually seamless, and I think therefore this is a plus of using Windows 365 as well. And I'm not really certain whether this will be implemented for AVD personal desktops, for example. So just one of those nice nifty features, using it even more interesting. We do need 23H2 on Windows 11, I think, and the Windows 365 app. But Microsoft already announced a new app in order to access Windows 365. The Windows app will be one app to connect to all things remotely. And maybe that functionality will actually make it for other scenarios as well.
I was starting up the app a few minutes ago, and then there was the opportunity. The same as in Teams and in Outlook, you have the toggle bar to access the new new app in preview.
Cool. Yeah. So one remark about the switch: you can only switch to one Windows 365 desktop.
Yeah, not multiple.
No, and that's so you cannot have multiple. But again, it's just making life easier.
You can be more productive in that way. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But what's Windows 365 boot?
Yeah, that's a very nice one as well. If you see your device right now and it's not capable of running newer versions of Windows, or it's a thin client only with a small Windows version, or you only have a device with a lot of battery and not enough performance in it, you can use Windows 365 boot. With those, if you set some toggles to create the Windows 365 boot, you're going to put the device on, then you're going to see the log on page of your Windows 365, log on, and you're going to log on to your Windows 365. And that's your booting into your Windows 365. So if you take a look at healthcare or another place where a lot of devices are with thin clients, what used to be the place to be, this is a new good feature of Windows 365 as well.
But if I log in on my laptop, Windows boot with Windows Hello for Business, is it already single sign-on to Windows boot, or is there some work to do?
I don't know for sure if it's Windows Hello already capable, but it's single sign-on after you log on to it with your credentials. But I thought it was working with Windows Hello as well.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and they are expanding this to other products as well. So I thought I saw like an Android device, which you can use to do the boot as well.
Yeah.
And in the end, I think... what was the Microsoft naming? Was it Continuum again?
Continuum
on the Nokia.
Where we actually could boot to a Windows thing. But that's coming more and more concrete in daily use, I think. So maybe in the end, in a couple of years, you have actually one device where you boot to your work environment, and it adapts to the working environment that you have, like a big screen or stuff like that.
I'm quite interested because Continuum was not a big success, so to say.
No.
So why will it be a success at the moment?
Because it's now on every device, and Continuum was only on a specific hardware device. It was not for Apple iPhone, for example. You must buy that specific Nokia to use the Continuum thing. That was the problem.
Yeah, but
for my opinion.
Yeah, but the thing that we have at the moment is only the collaboration. What is it, Motorola or the other one? The LG, one of them, that is in the partner ecosystem with Microsoft to enable the phone sign-in with Windows 365. So what will be the feature or the thing that other partners are stepping in? Because the experience with Continuum with the Nokia phones, that was the Nokia phone, because it's running an agent and connecting to a certain desktop. It was quite hot at a certain moment. That it's quite intensive for the resources that is needs to be used on a phone system, and then the system and the screen was flickering and so on. So
but also those phones they are more capable of handling that
definitely
nowadays.
Yep.
we see with phones nowadays that more and more standardization is taking place. Take, for example, the new iPhone using the USB-C connection.
Luckily.
Yeah, so I think more and more vendors are actually able to step in there and create solutions that, today I plug my laptop into the USB-C connection. Why not plug in my new iPhone
You can do.
and use the same functionality?
Didn't you do that already?
No, I haven't tested yet.
You can do it, and then you
okay.
can see your screen on the display, so it's
Oh, why
working
not?
on your docking station.
Yeah,
It's already there.
So I'm going to install the Windows 365 app on my iPhone and work from there from now on.
Only a mouse.
Yeah,
You only need a mouse.
indeed. But I think it's a matter of time. And again, what you said, Frans, maybe a couple of years ago, there were too many constraints of adopting it more widely. But those constraints are gone within now and a couple of years. So that could be an interesting use case. Because again, and that's maybe something we shouldn't forget, Windows 365 is advertised as Windows in the cloud. And that says something.
Yeah, definitely. And at the other end, there were some things popping up. During lunch, we talked about some new phones, and we see some new phones on the market. The Samsung Flip and the Samsung Fold, but also OnePlus has a foldable phone, and so you have a bigger screen on your phone. It's 1,800 euros, for example. So it's a lot of money for a phone, but you have a bigger screen, and probably you can connect it with other screens as well, and you can use Windows 365 on a certain device in an optimal way. So you can have when you're on your way traveling, you can access your company resources from a managed device.
Yeah.
What about last year in April? But you're not always online. There was an announcement about Windows 365 offline, but we didn't hear anything about it. What's gone with it? Citrix already had it. There's somebody knows. It was in the boot and switch announcement. There was a Windows 365 offline announcement, but we didn't hear anything about it.
Didn't see it.
What happened?
Didn't test it. If it's there,
we didn't know.
No,
we do not know.
No, but the basic idea is that there will be like an option to run Windows 365 when not connected to the internet. That technology has been there for a while with the client hypervisors back in the days, to say so. So some vendors actually already provided that technology. We have seen public announcements on the fact that Microsoft is working on it, but up until now, not even in like a private thing, I haven't seen anything about it.
Yeah, the last day was Ignite,
Microsoft has the technology in place. They used to have a product. What was it called again? Was it MetV something that you could actually use virtual PC with a device with an image managed by Microsoft back in the days, and could actually run those kinds of stuff. So it's only a matter of bringing back the good old virtual PC days, but then in a more modern way than we used to know. I wouldn't be. They have the capability. We have the client hypervisor, stuff like that going on. So maybe it's more a matter of where the priorities are within.
No, it was the same announcement. That was boot, switch, and Windows 365 offline.
Yeah,
it was
indeed.
the same.
Yeah.
And it can sync. And when you go online, it will sync back. So there was also some elaboration on how it should work.
Yeah, and I think it's only logical that functionality will be released somewhere in the future. But again, I have no idea on what the timelines are.
And impossible to make that something like that for Azure Virtual Desktop, I think. So that's also a reason for choose Windows 365.
On the other hand, if you are able to stream an image, it doesn't really matter where that image is residing. So I can imagine that maybe from a marketing sales kind of perspective, they only make it available for Windows 365. But in the days, it was already working for VDI as well.
Yeah.
So there's no technology restriction there, in my opinion. Yeah. But that will be interesting because then it can be even more interesting to start using it. Yeah.
If you need a VDI machine or a dedicated machine managed and you don't have the hardware or whatever, Windows 365 can definitely help. That's the case. Also from a management perspective, because within Intune, it is easy to configure and to enable and to manage.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's relatively easy indeed. Yeah, there are some exceptions, but there are many blog posts on what those exceptions are. So
My current use case is really easy. I use it for the customers who want to have, for example, have an exact administration, and then they need to look in it, and they won't want to run the complete server, but they need sometimes to log into it. We install exact and the client and the server on that PC, and then they get for 20 euros a month have always access for the complete environment. So that's for legacy software. It's also a good opinion, because there's also, running the complete server is always a big thing and a costly thing.
Definitely.
So the final thing is frontline worker licensing.
Yeah, that was announced. Was it at Ignite or a few weeks before?
A little bit sooner, I think, because it's already there. But
We have the Workplace Ninja Summit that was mentioned there. I know.
yeah, I think
week after
it
the
has
summit.
been announced for a long time already. But Microsoft is really focusing on frontline workers at the moment, because I think they are the last use case still left behind, and that Microsoft needs to close the gap when it comes to those kind of users.
But what's the feature? Frontline worker is there already a long time. But what's the benefit with the frontline worker license within Windows 365?
you buy one license,
And you get?
free Windows 365 cloud PCs, which can be used concurrent.
Concurrent.
No, only
No?
one at a time.
One at a time.
Yeah, so you actually buy a pool of licenses where only 1/3 of the devices can actually. So if you say you have 7 licenses, you can turn on, or you can have 21 dedicated PCs, cloud PCs in that case, but only 7 can be used concurrently. In that
Yeah,
case.
for one license, you may run 3, but not at the same time.
Indeed.
It's interesting in the Netherlands with all the part-timers, for example.
With the part-timers, but also shift workers. Looking at healthcare, you have a 3 persons that are working a day, 24 hours. And in that cases, it really helps, in my opinion. Yeah.
But are there also disadvantages? You cannot. Do you have downsides on it for F3? Because normally you also needed some business premium, for example, license on every user. So it's a cheaper add-on. So
The only downside I found was that the user is getting some sort of error or a warning or an informational that there is no license available when there are too many devices in use. So,
but there's no any other with a normal license. Only the capacity is the change. No other functionality things are there.
No, but you can also work with an E3 license on top of a frontline Windows 365 machine. So it's not like you need a frontline license for the user for the Microsoft 365 functionality. We do see, though, that for the frontline workers, more and more, they are actually presented with Teams and Teams only.
Yeah.
So they work within Teams. They have the walkie-talkie functionality. They have the web apps of Word, Excel, etc. And of course, everything is integrated there. So especially for frontline workers, I think Teams will be the main front end that they will start using instead of the Windows desktop, which is more common when we are talking about other scenarios. Microsoft is really steering frontline workers in another direction. And there we see that, of course, they usually work with smaller screen resolutions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Finished?
Probably we've got all the topics ready. Maybe we can tell a little bit that there is a security baseline specific for Windows 365. So we've already been talking about security baselines, but there is a specific one for Windows 365. BitLocker isn't working, so that's already been told, and I haven't seen any other quirks with any Intune policy going into the Windows 365 device.
Everything is working except the BitLocker, but as explained, because of the encryption on the storage layer on the bottom of it. Okay, then don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel, podcast platforms, whatever, if you want to know when a new recording will be there. This is the kickoff of the next season, so summer is passed, and then everything starts in the winter season. Doing a lot of recordings, having our own events in December, the next one, and then for the next year that will be announced as well. See WPNinjasNL website with all the information, with our links to our meetup page, YouTube channel, and so on. So that is the placeholder for everything you want to know about our community. And with that said, until the next time, thank you guys.
See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye-bye.